Hello, friends. Just getting started here. Ayelet should be joining momentarily. Hopefully, everybody's having a good Monday. I'm currently on O'odham and Hohokam land. There we go.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, it's good. Hopefully, you can hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Super. Good to see you.
Yay, this is the first live that I've done where I can actually see you because other ones I've done recently, for some reason, I couldn't see the
Oh,
people on the camera and it was a little disjointed. So I love being able to see your pretty face.
okay. Sorry, give me a sec. There's something happening on my computer. There it goes.
Ooh, I hear music.
Very exciting. Um, I'm trying to rest my phone on my computer, but it keeps pressing buttons.
Yeah, I'm just very clearly, we're very casual here, friends, as you've seen. Like, no,
No pretense.
no need for, I don't know, putting on airs. Oh, I might have lost you though. Are you still with me?
Sorry. Oh, gosh.
I can hear you. Yeah. It might be my connection. Hopefully that doesn't cause any problems.
So how's it going? Happy Monday.
I was just giving land reverence and a visual description. So if you want to do that as well, that would be
That'd be
great.
great. Yeah. Um, I am coming to you from unceded Ramyatusha Ohlone land here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I am a white, Jewish, brown-haired, short-haired woman wearing a denim jacket and a chai necklace. Chai means life in Hebrew. Um, Sitting in my office drinking tea.
Lovely. I'm drinking a little coffee myself.
Good.
So, well, we kind of give people a chance to join us. I wonder if you'd be willing to give us a little bit about you and why you're with us today. So some of you have met Ayelet before in lives, and we've had a chance to learn about what she was doing with Cultivating Connection, which was a panel that I supported where she gave an opportunity for all perspectives to have a chance to talk, which was beautiful. But I'd like to hear just a little bit more about what you've been up to since then.
Mm. What have I been up to? Yeah, so as just a little background here, I am by professional trade a speech language therapist and run a business called Learn with Less. We serve both educators and families with a developmentally based infant and toddler curriculum. A big part of what I do is facilitate the education of other facilitators, train and support other educators and therapist types to utilize this curriculum in their communities. And so much of that work is helping others become a guide and facilitator of a space that welcomes all families, that allows for mutual respect and understanding and being seen and heard and um, being and playing with their tiny humans in a group community setting. So that's what the basis of my work is. And as a woman who is an anti-Zionist Jewish person, I have been doing a lot of advocacy work both in my local community and online with other folks, both to support and cultivate that connection, right? And understand each other. I think that there is a lot of moving moving parts in terms of folks not being able to hear each other in their humanity. That is a really hard thing to do, to sit with when we do not agree with each other, when we don't see each other's humanity. And yeah, I think so. What have I been doing since the panel that I held earlier this year? A lot of um, holding space for myself, I would say, and also
Oh,
for
you
others
know
in
how
my
much I
community.
appreciate
Say
that.
that again? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I said, you know how much I appreciate that, that it's like, it's so easy to go to the external, all right, what should
Yeah.
I be doing in this movement? How should I be fighting? Rather than starting with self, which is something, being in the Check Your Privilege community and with Maisha T. Hill and how much importance she puts on the deep importance of self development and healing whatever trauma you're bringing to the table. And so I love, of course, hearing that. But please, I cut you off. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as Wees Duran says a lot. I think she's actually using new terminology. I can't remember what she's been, but in terms of like the revolution of revolutionary self-care, right? It's you can't always be go go go. That's what white supremacy does. Tells us to do. And using the oppression Olympics to know, to feel that like there's always someone else who is more oppressed, more hurting. And so I just need to keep going. Well, yes, of course, we all need to be in action, in authenticity, um, to our beliefs. But part of that means listening to our bodies, slowing down, and sitting with that discomfort and just being for a little while, which is a very difficult thing to do for, I think, most of us. Certainly, I'll just speak for myself. It's very hard for me to do that. um, a couple of weeks ago, I really could not tell whether I was coming down with something, like really getting sick, or whether I was just like actually listening to my body saying, sit down, stop, slow it down. Um,
Well, yeah, I want to also just provide empathy and understanding for the unique position that you're in, that it's not just that you're an activist and fighting out, but that you hold an identity in this conversation that is incredibly nuanced, and the needs to hold presence for others who are on all sides of this, who are challenging you as an anti-Zionist Jew, is intense. And I remember when you posted the town hall recording. I think it was a town hall that where you were speaking. It was a powerful message, and I was delighted to hear it. But I loved hearing you say afterwards how many people came up to you and found that shared
mhm.
reality and wanted to build community with you. And so that reminder that so much of it isn't even about, is my voice loud and heard by those who need to hear it, because this isn't I want to convince or I want to change, but where am I calling in community and doing organizing? So I love hearing the connections that you've made as a result of some of the actions that you've been doing.
Yeah, that has been a big part of um, making making things sustainable for me, right? Is really like building community with um, other anti-Zionist Jews, non-Zionist Jews, other Muslim, Arab American, and Palestinian American folks in my local community and also online. It is, I think for me, like connection is a very, very deep intrinsic need. I re really thrive on having real, actual, deep conversations, and I I keep threatening to make a t-shirt that says Captain Buzzkill at your service. It's coming. It'll come, when I have time. But yeah, you know, I think right now where I am finding, um, keep coming back to that word sustainability, like, but also sustenance, right? Is in community with others who I can both support and uh, be supported by, um, and engage in conversations that are really hard with folks um, who I also can support in understanding where I'm coming from, what I believe, how I can identify as a self-loving Jewish woman who values the Jewish tenets that I grew up with, and also believes very deeply in the liberation of Palestinian people and in the collective that we are all part of. Those are the Jewish values that I grew up with. So it's not that part's not complicated at all. And I think holding people, yeah, I mean, I know we'll sort of get into this, Jen, but like NVC, nonviolent communication, has been just a totally integral part of my ability to um, self-empathize and keep going and empathize with others and be able to see the humanity in other people, even when we vehemently disagree, um, even when the words that I am receiving from them does not hold my humanity. And that's not something, number one, that I would expect everyone to be able to do, but it is something that I can do in this moment because of the identities that I hold, the privilege that I have, and the tools that I have access to. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing, obviously, and that why we're having this conversation, and that we're talking about how NBC supports these conversations, and just the resiliency and the fortitude needed to sustain. And those who've been with me for a while certainly have a good understanding of self-empathy, but I wonder if you feel willing to share just a little bit about what does that self-empathy practice look like when it shows up. Is it you're doing it to build some resiliency before you walk into a situation, or are you able to tap into that live in conversation with somebody?
Yeah. I mean, that the second one is the hardest one, right? And it's easier to do it online, right? It's easier to do it in conversations that are not synchronous when there's somebody standing in front of you tr trying to pushing all of your buttons. Um, and yeah, there are some times when I do get to feel very proud of holding that practice for myself in the moment, in real time. But yeah, I would say a lot of it is building that muscle, right? Of before going into a space that I know will be challenging, uh, or before having uh, going into a conversation that I know will be challenging, or even just before reading a notification on social media, because so many of those, Facebook messages and Instagram messages and things, um, for me have been laced with vitriol and hatred. I do take a moment, I take a beat, right? Even like my son, my 10-year-old, who's like, oh, like you got a message on your phone. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna check that later. And he's like, oh. And so I'll tell him like, yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not in a space to be able to look at that right now. And so I want to do some breathing. And so that's what I'm going to do before I take a look at that. And he's like, hmm.
Well,
And
I'm
I love that
delighted
I
to
get to
hear
model
that.
for that,
Just
right?
I was just gonna say, hey, I'm very glad to see young people be deprogrammed from the automatic gratification of checking a notification. That's like, no,
Yeah,
I need a
well,
minute
I'll be the first
before
to
I'm
admit
ready to
that I do
manage
have a
that.
very hard time doing that as well. So
We all
it's
do,
not
yeah,
like
of
it's
course. We
yeah,
absolutely all
yeah, yeah, yeah.
do. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things that Marshall Rosenberg, who was the founder of the Center for Nonviolent Communication and who I started my training with, he had a phrase that was it, anything anybody's ever saying at any given time is some version of please or thank
Mhm.
you. And if you can have that mindset when you're talking to somebody, regardless of the vitriol coming at you, you can seek for
Yeah,
whatever it is they're asking for.
yeah,
What is it? What is the please here? Or the reminder that no is just yes to something else. So whatever the no that's being screamed at me, where can I find what they're saying yes
yeah,
to so that we can collaborate to find a different strategy to get that need met?
yeah, yeah,
Easier said than done,
yeah.
I acknowledge.
That's right.
So I know that you've been, leading, as we talked about already, leading the panel. You've been speaking at town councils. You've been hitting the streets amongst other activists. Like, can you call upon a moment that you could share with us about where NVC did serve you?
Mm, yeah. Well, I think a few things I'd love to like. I have two examples. One, and I think you'll appreciate this, Jen, because you're always encouraging folks to use it even when in the positives, right? So the first one I'll give is really just yeah, you to active sort of the active listening, right? Like using listening like reflecting back, witnessing friends who are having a difficult time, listening for um, feelings and needs, um, and just reflecting back at what they're experiencing, right? I am very honored and lucky and grateful to be in deep community with several Palestinian women trust who trust me to talk, trust me to that they can share with me what is happening in their lives and in a very real way. And so yeah, I will frequently use those tools, partially because I think it's so easy to like do the whole oh yeah, I've experienced that feeling too, right? And like, no, this is not about you. This is not about you, like at all. And so just utilizing the framework of like, okay, this is what I'm listening. This is what I'm hearing. This is yeah. I see you in that.
Yeah. We talk about empathy before education. That was another one of Marshall's phrases, and it's vital to lay that groundwork of trust and presence, not as a tool to be able to share your story, but just to build that authentic relating. Because I think the strategy of shared reality, while it is a very important need, sometimes that storytelling, oh yeah, I understand, is we have such a deep wish to show that we see and we know and we understand. We want people to feel that sense of shared reality. So I see so many of you in the comments that are maybe thinking, but that's like, it's such a common attribute of the way neurodivergence can manifest is that storytelling is bringing yourself into it so that you can build that shared reality. So it isn't that that is a bad tool or a strategy to do, but to be mindful of your audience and to know that the deep grief and suffering of this Palestinian woman you're trying to hold space for, that's not your job yet. Not yet. It's not empathy instead of education or empathy instead of consoling, reassuring, all these other tools that we do in communication to connect to one another. but that it's just before, lay the groundwork. And so once you feel that they've been heard, they show you some evidence that, thank you, I feel your presence. Then you can share, there's something that I'm feeling coming alive in me that is resonating with what you're sharing. I wonder if I could speak to that. Because it's not that whatever it is that you want to say of, yeah, I get it. It's not that it's bad, because that might give them a gift, but allow them the opportunity to give consent for the gift you're trying to give them.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love hearing that.
Yeah.
What about spicier moments, with some of these vitriolic comments that are coming at you, or maybe even in live conversation at these town hall meetings and
stuff? Yeah, so like city council meetings, actions in the streets. Yeah, I think what I think is interesting is how much just movement helps me, and I think many of us, just walking around, getting some movement, whether it's just shaking things off, moving my hands and legs. I think, when I find myself getting tense or getting activated, feeling those sensations in my body of like electricity in a way that's like, shooting electricity, or pressure, or like I'm looking at your beautiful NVC lists here, Jen. So I'm looking like the constricted energy, right? The first thing that I often will do is breath, to try to release that, and then often some like shoulder movement, or tapping of my foot or something like that. I find that helps me engage here and here, and it also just like allows me to feel like I get to choose. I get to choose how to show up right now. And just like anything, sometimes that will help me through a difficult conversation up to a point, and then it's gone, right? Um, or I'll get through a full conversation, and then once what is being said to me is just like so overtly racist and just not acceptable, like I will just say like, okay, well, I'm going to walk away now because I'm not interested in engaging this way. I'm not, like, we were having a conversation, but now what you're saying to me is just not acceptable to me, and so I'm going to walk away.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot, of that, you don't owe anybody empathy. I always say reach for it. Yeah, reach for empathy first. But if you don't have it, maybe curiosity. Can you reach for curiosity? No? Okay, shut up. Self-empathize. So it just the pauses, the body awareness is such an important phase of the self-empathy practice, because it's one more cue that shows me, I'm dysregulated. And thank you for naming those lists. If people want to have access to the list, you can find them on my website, jengergen.com, and then there are a list of feelings, words, needs, words, body sensations, and it can be really powerful to name the thing that's alive in you, because it gives you a lot of clarity. All of it directly connects to everything else. I have constriction in my chest because I'm probably feeling nervous because I have a need for competence, or whatever. However, that it all ties together. And the owning it, I love that you say owning it, because we start in this place of thinking that other people's actions make me feel what I feel. No, that's not actually true. They're a catalyst, to be sure, but your needs are what make you feel what you feel. And if you feel that empowerment of ownership, it gives you so much more opportunity and choice to move into different strategies that you're naming. I'm gonna go now. You're now at a place that I don't wish to engage with. I don't owe you empathy, because, man, if anybody saw a recent video I did, is that like the empathy well runs dry, and it's dangerous when it's dry.
At that point, it's serving no one. Yeah.
Oh, I just want to check in the comments, make sure I'm very, very bad at this. I just want to see, and feel free to engage. I mean, the point of these lives that we're doing monthly with different Ayelet has joined me in the past. I've had Maisha, I've had Michelle Walter and Carly Goldberg, and these conversations are a chance for those of you that might not quite feel safe to join me for the open to everybody practice over Zoom. If you're feeling just a little nervous, it's a chance for you to just engage in the comments in a safer environment. So feel free if you've got questions or scenarios that you've been dealing with, particularly about this topic, that you would like some support. I'm sure I could talk Ayelet into doing a little role play with me if that would be of service.
Absolutely.
And this will be posted as well. I believe it's easy to post the recording after.
Yeah.
So anything else coming alive for you that you want to share about your experiences with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, just the use of the tools of NVC, just like any other modality or framework, has been so incredible to be able to pull from and and use. In I'm just so appreciative that I can utilize it in so many different ways with so many different, you know, people and situations, both internally and externally. And I also think that because I've had so much more practice over the last, 5, 6 months, um, I think what is most alive in that is um, the acceptance of like, oh yeah, no, I don't get it right all the time. That's totally fine. I'm in that mode of, when you're learning a new language, feeling very like feeling just proficient enough with it to get your point across, to engage with people in a meaningful way, and to just know that like all the grammar is effed up, all the the sentence structure is not where it should be, but that you can utilize, you can really effectively communicate with somebody else in a way that is imperfect and is building connection, right? So I think that's been like a really a positive like place for me to be able to sit recently. It feels good.
Yeah, new NVC practitioners always get stuck in the
Uh-huh.
formula because we practice formula, but we don't live formula. And so it can become a weapon, to
Yeah.
be honest,
Yeah.
as people get too formulaic with it. And Mickey Koshton, who is a NVC practitioner who I deeply appreciate, she does a lot of work of naturalizing it because she says, and so in those of you that aren't familiar, but the giraffe jackal imagery is very common in NVC, the giraffe being very life affirming and the jackal being life alienating. And so authentic jackal will always be preferred to perfect giraffe that's not authentic. So it's like, speak authentically because you always have a room to course correct. You can always create repair because if you find yourself going into these more violent patterns or more combative or judgments or you can always rein back and just show that vulnerability of, well, I really see where we're going with this and I'm longing for a more connected way of communicating. I'm not preferring how I'm speaking. I'd like to try
Yeah.
again. And just keep trying. Like there is no, you have to release the attachment and the addiction to a perfect outcome.
Mhm.
It isn't a script where if I say this phrase, it's going to get you to hear me. It just doesn't work that way.
No.
So I love the release of the perfection of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to ask you a vulnerable question, so you have autonomy
Go ahead.
always to say, I don't want to answer that. But can you name some moments where you were struggling and are wishing that had been different? Like where could, or maybe even just struggling with where and how to use NVC more effectively in a situation?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one that comes right off the top. Um, I was at the local, I think it was the like Board of Education our county was passed a ceasefire resolution at the Board of Education, at our local county's Board of Education. And during it, I went up to give public comment, and I came back, and I was approached by a woman who came up um, and said, "Oh, are you the one? Are you the woman who's the Jewish educator and mother?" And I said, "Yes, that's me." And yes, I just spoke. And she said, "And you said that you teach your children about discrimination and justice." I said, "Yes, that's right. I teach my children about understanding all of those things." And she said, "Well, do you teach them also about Judaism and being discriminated?" And I said, "Of course, they are Jewish." Um, and then she looked at me, and with this smug little smile on her face, she said, "Well, Hitler didn't discriminate." And I I I didn't have anything in myself. If so, I just I flipped her off and I walked away. um, which is great. Okay, at least I didn't continue to engage, right? If I and I thought later about, like, okay, if I had if that had gone if that could have gone differently, how would I have wanted that to go differently? And I I thought, okay, what did she want from me? She wanted me to know she wanted me to know her fear. She wanted me to know her fear and her pain. And that our shared identity means something. And she wanted I think she was, let's see, I'm going to refer to my sheet here. I think
Well, I mean, I would make a
yes,
guess for recognition and an
yes,
awareness. I hear a longing
yes,
for certainly
yes,
understanding and to be heard, but just that recognition and awareness of a shared history
yes,
and wanting that communion with you.
yes, yes, in a way that um I think she really wanted me to think about what I was doing. I think she was very skeptical, right, about um my beliefs, and she definitely wanted to matter in that moment. Um
Well, and your assessment of smug
yes,
also shows
there's
me a
definitely,
longing for
yeah,
competence. I want to wield my competence on this.
yes, yes, yes. Um Yeah, so I think if I could have said something, I would have said, like, yeah, I really see, um like, no, Hitler did not discriminate. That's right. That's right. Yeah. I'm noticing that, like, you want, it seems like you want me to believe what you believe. Is that right? I would have asked a question. I would have
Sure.
acknowledged her anger and her pain. Um,
I think the question too of just kind of calling them on what you fear is true, which is, do you believe that I don't
mhm.
agree with that statement? Is sometimes helpful
Yeah,
to keep it from bringing, it's
yeah,
like putting the awareness on them, right? So we talk about read the room, right? Either I'm expressing myself because I feel safe enough
yes,
to do so, I'm acknowledging another person with empathy because they're so activated they're not going to hear me, or I'm silent and self-empathizing. And
yeah,
so her activation was so loud and screaming that I'm going to try to keep all of this on
yeah,
you of just I'm not going to even bring in myself yet. And I don't even necessarily have to show you empathy because I can feel the flipped off finger was not going to make room for empathy, but the curiosity can just show up and do you fear that I don't believe that?
Yeah,
And then they can
Jen,
keep going.
you never cease to, and I very much enjoy how you are very good at identifying that smallest possible curiosity, which
Thank you.
yeah,
I appreciate that.
it's great, and it's a great reminder, and I think it's true. Keeping it on them and not rushing through the process, right? Yeah.
Did you,
Or even
looking
just
back on that
getting her
moment,
to
did you,
expand. Oh, what do you mean by that?
yeah,
Right?
exactly. Say, bury
Would you like to
yourself,
tell me
basically.
more about right?
Yeah. Do you, I mean, looking back on that moment, do you have a sense of, like, because listen, for people who are watching this, I fully acknowledge there's not always room. Nonviolent communication takes time, and there's not always time to build that full blanketed trust. But if you're in a situation where you're pinned and somebody's coming towards you, they're planting themselves. Or was this like a drive-by comment on her way out
Oh
the
no,
door? Like, did you have a
she came
sense
and
that
found
she
me.
was ready to actually
Yeah, she
engage with
came
you?
and found me.
Okay, so she was ready for a conversation. She
Yeah.
was ready to give you
Hmm.
more. Yeah, and this is again that reminder where, man, you don't owe anybody anything. You do not have to listen to other people's bullshit. You know, if you don't have space for it, yeah, disengage. I hear the regret or the wish that, I wish I could have kept the finger maybe and just disengaged in a more compassionate way. But we're living in the real world, I yell it. So, on your path to enlightenment, we're going to manage.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, so looking back on that moment, I hear some preferences of what you would have liked to say, but what if you didn't have the capacity to, which you didn't have the capacity to speak. And so what does a silent disengagement sound like in your head and look like to her?
Other than the finger? Yeah. I um I I mean, yeah, I think
Let
just
me help. Let me help. What I'm
yeah.
asking for is, are you willing to do your self empathy about that moment right now?
Mm. Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um,
So pretend I've just said what she said to
yeah.
you, and you get a do
Yeah.
over. Let us into your head and let me know what that
Yeah.
sounds like.
Um, I think it starts with wow. That was low. Um, this person also all the judgments, right? This person just
The belief stage. I'm going to help
yes.
people understand where we're
Yes.
at. So I hear, yep,
Judgments and
we've
beliefs.
kind of got some. We've already got the observations. We know what you said. Now I
Yeah.
hear you're in
Right.
belief.
So this person just called me a capo. They think that I hate myself and my community, that I stand against what you know that that I'm putting her in danger. Um, and she just wants she wants to put and so she wants to put me in danger and be and get a rise out of me and be the worst, you know, bring the worst out in me. Um, those are the judgments, beliefs, stages. So okay, so what am I feeling here? Oh
Wait,
man,
wait. Don't skip body.
yeah,
Get us
exactly.
in your
Yeah,
body
sorry.
first.
What are the sensations I'm feeling here? Um, there's a lot of queasiness. My heart is racing. I am in full shaking activation mode. It is very electric in there. My heart is beating fast. It is in my head. It is in my chest, tightness. My arms and shoulders are very tight. Yeah, a lot of tightness and jittery electricity. So those feelings I'm experiencing are um, um, appalled, contempt, aversion, disgust, rattled, worried, hostile, tender, vulnerable.
I'd love to pause for a moment to help people understand something right now. So there are no wrong feelings. Every feeling is valid, but the separating emotions of aversion and disgust and anger and all of that are separating emotions because they imply wrongness. And there is a deeper feeling alive beyond that. I'm angry because I'm also feeling this
Yeah.
vulnerability. And so I hear you, and naturally proceeding from these aversion into the, and I even felt your body drop into the vulnerable and
Yeah.
tender. And I'm
Yeah.
appreciating
Yeah.
that example of that.
Yeah. Um, so needs. Where do we get the reference? Yeah, it's on Jen's website, jengergen.com, and she has inventory lists. They're very,
Yeah, there's a
yeah,
tab.
you can just download them. They're very
And if you went to my bio, I think I also have it directly linked
good.
there.
Yeah, good. Um, yeah, so needs that are not being met, mutuality, respect, um, acceptance, acknowledgement, authenticity, integrity. Um,
Maybe shared
yes,
reality.
shared reality for sure. To matter, right?
And the pause is friends are learning about self-empathy potentially who might be new to this space, and the reminder that all of it flows. I have this sensation in my body because it directly connects to a feeling I'm having, which directly connects to a need. Because looking at a list, things will jump out at
Yes.
you and they make
Yeah.
sense, especially the needs, because everything on that list is a universal
Right.
human need. Everybody's got these
Right.
needs, right? And so when you can connect to that idea of I feel vulnerable or I feel tender because I have a need for respect or I have a need for
Yeah.
acceptance is really valuable.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I think in those like fragile, vulnerable, tender ones, yeah, it's very much respect, belonging, shared reality, and yeah, all those things under honesty too, right? Like transparency, authenticity. Yeah. Yeah, I really do appreciate like that that movement from the more like aversion, uh disconnected, these very sort of tense emotions and feelings into like acknowledging like that the feelings are also um there is a vulnerability. It is a huge, that's a big part of it, right?
Let's pause on
Yeah.
that real quick because when you tap
Yeah.
into that, if you do access self-empathy live in a moment because you have a good beefy self-empathy practice available to you, when you drop into that place and then
Yes,
engage
exactly.
and show
It's
that
very
vulnerability.
human.
Now, sometimes it'll feel like you're showing a soft belly to a violent predator, but being able to say to this woman, well, I'm really feeling pretty tender right now because I sense an attack and I also really sense that you want me to hear you. And I wonder if we could try a different way of doing it or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, it's the way it comes is going to be natural in the moment. And maybe it won't be that eloquent. Maybe it'll just be like, ooh,
Ooh,
that's intense.
yeah,
Like maybe
that was
that's the best you
spicy.
can
That
reach
was
for.
spicy. Right.
And
Let's
sometimes
talk.
that
Yeah.
disruption or that just that pause helps them see, oh, wow, I'm also an attack. Because I don't genuinely believe most people are coming in with the specific intent to be maliciously attacking. Yes, trolls on the internet. That's a whole nother breed. We're not talking about them. But this woman who you already have acknowledged in your self-empathy is just, she's coming from a fearful place. So she's not her best self, and reaching for her humanity by appealing to her humanity through your vulnerability can be really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so how does the request sound in this part?
Um, yeah, I think the request is around getting curious, acknowledging the like spiciness of that comment, and like, okay, yeah, I heard that landed. Um, yeah, what I'd love to know more about what you mean by that. Would you be willing to say more?
Perfect. Yeah, I love how tangible that is, how realistic that is. Because sometimes I think the request phase can be so vague, it can sound like, oh, I just really want to be more patient right now. What does that mean? What does patience mean? But saying, ooh, I want to find some curiosity, so I'm going to ask a question, or just reflect back. I'm just going to keep them engaging. I'm going to see if maybe them getting this out, maybe we can get to a more connected place. If they can just kind of blow off a little bit of this steam and I can hold some presence for it. I'm going to request of myself that I have enough energy to hold space for this for another couple minutes. I mean, so you hear me talk about your request phase should always be concrete, realistic, negotiable, and positive, meaning for something. You're asking for something to happen, not for something to stop. And so by telling her, "Ooh, I need you to stop making," but being able to say, "Ooh, I'd love it if you could just say what you're trying to say to me with a voice that's just a little bit more tender." I mean, even that
Yeah.
works. It's asking for something to happen, not for something to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. Exactly. It's an
So looking
invitation.
back at this moment, and you're thinking of, and now that you've gone through this self-empathy now in this retrospective way, but do you feel a different energy about her going through this self-empathy practice right now, or capacity,
Yeah,
or
definitely more capacity. I don't know that I have more of.
no? I
Yeah.
love it. Please be honest.
It's
Not
it's
a
internal
magic pill.
capacity. It's internal capacity. And ability to um see her as like, oh, you came for me. What is it that you need from me right now? What are you trying to say? Right? That getting to that place.
Well, just a small shift of what is your request of me, not your need of me.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah,
I'm
what's
not
your
the need.
request?
Don't wrap up your needs in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know what you meant.
Thanks, Brad Toffel. Yeah.
Oh, Oh, I thank you for the vulnerability of allowing us to see you in this retrospective moment and using a real example. I appreciate the tenderness of letting people see that. So it's a gift that you were able to do that for us.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. I think it's very important. I think in a strange, not strange, in a very, I find it so interesting how when I'm able to tap into um that the acknowledgement of yeah, I'm feeling really sensitive about this too, or I'm really feeling vulnerable about how you've come at me, like this feels pretty intense. Here's like uh or I'm really disappointed that we can't have a real conversation, or inviting somebody into a conversation about like, yeah, I can see the hurt in your words. I can see this sense of longing for stability. One of the things that I'm utilizing is X, Y, and Z. You know, what do you do when you need that, right? And it's the beauty of NVC is that it is totally humanizing. It humanizes everybody. It allows that person, if their intent and their request for themselves was to incite, to create a sense of um, disconnection, right? I mean, right?
Yeah, division. Yeah.
And if I come back with an energy of, oh, it looks like you're actually wanting to connect because you've written to me, right? Like, what is it? How is it that I can help you? You know, then like I don't ever hear from them again, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah. Don't take the bait. I mean, that absolutely, with especially the online stuff of like, it doesn't mean ignore. As those of you who watch my social, I respond to everybody. So it's not even that I'm requesting that people ignore, but don't take the bait, find a different way to respond than just meeting their anger with more
yeah,
anger.
yeah,
And find an empathy buddy to go bitch about them too, because that
that's
helps.
right.
Like,
Sure does.
I mean, please, of course, we want people to on their path to enlightenment to divest from judgments and move into a state of observation and get away from all these belief-based feelings and lean into their heart. And well, yeah, fine, I'm living in the real world. I'm going to do my best here. I'm going to call my friend Ayel and go, God, this bitch, she fucking came up, blah, blah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sometimes, the phrase is, Ayelet, put on your giraffe ears. I
that's
need some
right.
empathy, because that means I'm about to get
That's
messy. And I need somebody to not collude, right? Here's my advice to people as an ally or as a friend to somebody who's in their venting, and you're like, man, you get in that position where you're like, shit, I don't have space to hold, I don't want to carry your venting. Or I'm thinking that what you want is collusion, and we're just going to go back and forth about how much this person is a bitch. If I've asked you to put on your empathy ears, you need to be the better one, because I can't be right
mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to be able to help me see this woman's humanity, because I
Yeah,
can't do it
right,
right now.
right. Yeah, yep.
Ugh. Oh, I've so appreciated this conversation. I feel a natural ending to, I don't want to start something new because I can feel it'll get too juicy. So I will remind people that if you want a chance to practice what we're talking about and actually do some of these role plays or go through self-empathy, that my next live Zoom, everybody, open to everybody, donations accepted, not expected, is on March 27th at the end of the month. And I hope that you might consider joining us. It's at the link for that will be in my bio. But Ayala, while you have our attention, and this will be recorded and posted, is there any message that you'd like to be able to share, or any requests, or something that we can do to help you on your mission right
Ooh.
now?
Uh, no, I mean, I'm very lucky to have access to Jen, actually, not just a Jen, the Jen, um,
Oh,
the
the Jen,
Jen.
you're killing me. Thank you. Oh,
And so, yeah, I think really my request for folks is really just to get in communities and practice this, because we need more of it. We need more humanity centered ways of communicating. You know, that would help me. That would help me, is feeling less alone in it, right? And having
I have the same request.
yes.
Thank you.
And so whether that's through like Maisha T. Hill's Check Your Privilege community, where there are regular, beautiful NVC sessions, often led by Jen and other beautiful practitioners, whether that's working with Jen one-on-one. I also, like, if you're looking for a model of how NVC can be utilized and offered as a tool for connection while witnessing a panel of people talk about a difficult subject, the recording of the panel that I facilitated and that Jen really uh, supported is over at learnwithless.com/cultivating connection, and you can download some inventory lists and watch that recording, which is a really beautiful convergence of story and perspective and history from a multitude of perspectives around those who are most affected by what's happening in Israel Palestine. So that's another resource. That's free,
that.
and you can see Jen, creating helping to create a container of ways to use these tools there as well. But yeah.
Thank you. That's sweet of you to acknowledge any impact that I could have even had on that. Thank you. Is there anybody you want to name as a resource we should be connecting with? There's so many out there, and is there anybody that calls out to you in this movement? Any people that are coming to mind? And it's okay if you don't think of this now. You could always drop it in the comments after the posting.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not already following reporters who are in Gaza, like Bisan, right? Start now. If you are not already following queer Palestinian creators like Yafa's Utopia on Instagram, they are calling in beautifully. If you are not already following Hadar Cohen, who is an Arab Jew, if you are not already following Daniel Mate, go do that. Daniel Mate was the co-founder of, or not co-author, sorry, of The Myth of Normal with his father, Dr. Gabor Mate. And he's been quite vocal about, and hosting lots of conversations. All these people are spending a lot of time and energy talking, about what's going on and sharing information and sharing history. So yeah, those are some of the people that come to mind right away. Yeah.
Appreciating that. And then invitation to those watching and watching the replay and where the comments will be. Feel free to tag in people that you want to amplify. We know that shadow banning is still something that's still so active, and just making sure that the messages are reaching and just finding that shared reality with each other on this wish to bring a free Palestine. And loving the chance to talk with you about it. Thank you, Ayelet, always. I just have such deep appreciation for you.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for having me.
All right, friends. I will see you hopefully on March 27th.
Yeah.
And have a great night.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.